How important is fashion in my life? I mean, it's so important. I think for most women, fashion is one of the key elements to feeling good, to making other people feel good around you. You know, I think when you look great and you're happy with what you're wearing, it makes you feel a certain way, and it makes you attract a certain type of person. I think fashion really dictates who you attract towards you, and the way you dress really dictates what kind of energy you want attracted to you. So, you know, I've always loved playing with fashion, playing with characters and who I am today. You know, so it always changes daily. I think my favorite clothing style has definitely shifted over the years. You know, when I was younger, I definitely had a wilder sense of style. It was all, you know, mini skirts and vintage clothes and little capes and Victorian walking jackets, and you know, I have many different eras of clothing that I love. And I think most recently, though, I've been much more simple, a bit more modern, and grown up. I mean, I'm 40 years old now, so definitely my style has changed, and I've been much more into slacks, much more into kind of boys' clothes, button-up shirts, baggy jeans, flat shoes. But then it's nice to go out to dinner and put on a dress and some heels and feel very feminine as well. You know, I think when you're a mom too, you just have less time overall to spend on yourself. You know, it's all about the kids, it's getting them out to school, it's going to after-school activities, and I have a baby. So I can't take more than 10 minutes to get ready. So it's simple makeup, simple outfits, and that's why I think the button-up shirts and the baggy jeans or slacks have been very fitting for me, because it's easy, it's elegant, I know I look nice, and it doesn't take much time. I have a very soft spot for Berlin because this is pretty much where my husband and I fell in love. My daughter is here, my 8-year-old is here. I wanted to take her for Fashion Week in Berlin and Fashion Week in Paris with me, without the baby. And it was really great because when we were driving to the hotel, we passed Cafe Einstein, and her father and I had our first real date there. So I said, well, look, that's the cafe, and your dad put his arm around me for the first time as he walked me back to the hotel. And then we had dinner at Borchardt, and that was like our first nice dinner together. So, you know, there's all these places that I remember that have very fond memories for me. But, you know, also I love Berlin because of the art world. I think since I first came here, there's been so much new architecture. I feel like there's just such a young, vibrant feeling about this city. So much change has happened even in the last 10 years, let alone in the last 20, 30 years. And I'm always very inspired by cities that are constantly in flux and constantly changing. And I think this city in particular is, it's just constantly reinventing itself. We made a few movies here. We made the first Resident Evil here, and then we did part of Three Musketeers here, so I've definitely shot it quite a few times here. Well, Resident Evil has definitely been a family affair. My husband and I met on the first one, we fell in love, and we've made 5 more films since then. We've had 2 children throughout, and so there's many fond memories for me. You know, also I think the part of Alice has always been very inspiring for me because she is so strong, but she's also very vulnerable and very confused about herself and who she is and why she does what she does. And I think a lot of people can relate to that character. A lot of women especially, we are strong, but then who are we in the world? Are we mothers? Are we businesswomen? Are we sex symbols? Are we weak? Are we strong? I mean, I think those are all things that, emotions that women have a hard time figuring out, because today the modern woman is a successful businesswoman. She is independent, but then when do you start having children? When do you sort of have to sacrifice certain personal interests to become a mother, and when you do become a mother, is it a full-time job, or is it okay to keep working? And I think these are all like feelings of guilt that we have as women that I think probably men don't understand as much, because they don't have that connection to the baby. So I think Alice represents so much of that. Maybe she doesn't have kids, but I think her not knowing who she really is, not having her memory, feeling that vulnerability and feeling that guilt for potentially causing something so, life-changing for the entire world. She has to live with that, and she's constantly trying to understand herself and where she fits into the world. I just finished nursing my second child 5 months ago, so finally the baby is off the breast. And I went on to do a film with James Franco that he co-wrote and co-directed called Future World, which is kind of a post-apocalyptic fairy tale. It's a very cool project. And now I'm just doing a lot of fashion, a lot of modeling work, just did the Prada campaign and the Jimmy Choo campaign, doing a lot of editorial, working with friends like Peter Lindbergh again. And in September, I go to do another film with Rob Reiner, actually. So again, I love the slacks, I love the button-down shirt, but I also I think there's an old world feeling about this fabric and the stripes and the high waist, and it just kind of reminds me of a different era. Maybe a bit of a Katharine Hepburn, classic movie star thing, but then it's got this fun print. I love the stripes. It's kind of masculine, but at the same time very form-fitting, which I think is a great combination. I like contrast, so for me, the classic form, but with this really kind of masculine pattern, I thought was very unique. Definitely wet wipes, because when you have kids, you have to have wet napkins in your bag. Band-Aids also play a big part in my life since becoming a mother. But as a woman, I always need my makeup purse, because you never know when you're going to need a bit of cover-up and a bit of lipstick, so it's always important to have some makeup. You always have to be interested in yourself. I think when you get bored with yourself is when you become insecure and when you lose confidence. And I feel like every time I find myself losing confidence or feeling not very secure with myself, I look at myself and go, well, why is that? What are you not doing right now to be an interesting person to you? Because if you're not interesting to yourself, you're not going to be interesting to anybody else. So I guess that's my life motto, is always be interested in who you are.